Hi, this is Laura Vogel, and this is my screencast on space and technology for blended learning in the astronomy classroom. To give you a little background, I teach high school science out of different classrooms because I have different uh, subjects that I teach. So I'm doing this specifically for the astronomy class that I teach. And the current classroom that I teach has an exterior of immobile shelves and cabinet space and a sink, as well as a teacher's desk set up here, that I think I would just leave all of those things alone because I do share with another teacher. But so what I've done in this model is taken what were elongated student tables all facing the projector and rearrange them into student tables that you can see. There's 6 of them. And I think that this is an ideal situation because it allows me to practice blended learning um, and blended teaching for my own sake and not disrupt too much of what the other teacher does currently. It requires very little additional furniture. I have added a square rug and book stand as well as some beanbag chairs. And I would maybe reverse this little grouping with the square rug, rethinking it because the door is right here, and just having students like walk all over the rug all day is kind of gross. But the station tables, what I love about these, they are within, view of the projector. And one of the things in the reading that I liked the most was the idea of a whole class intro meeting and then a whole class exit meeting. And so these are things that I definitely think I love in terms of structure for my own sanity as I'm transitioning rooms and students are. So I think that would really enable that to happen, so that everyone can view the projector and focus on like maybe the setup of the room or the learning target of the day. Um, so in terms of how this setup specifically supports blended learning, I've organized the student tables into, I call them stations. However, now thinking more about it, the classroom design article talks about learning zones versus station rotation models. And I think in my astronomy class, it would be more appropriate to call them learning zones because I don't foresee me timing students at the stations and having them rotate in groups. So I really envision this being more of a zone where students have to get to so many zones within a set, um, but they can really move to whichever zone they want to at whatever point they want to. Um, and the reason I envision this way is because the class that I teach is a combination of college prep and honors students that are all scheduled for the same time frame. So that requires a great deal of differentiation, and I think this could be a really great way to kind of attack some of those challenges um, and support a variety of learners. Um, Having the different stations set up will also really make me committed to incorporating a variety of content in my class. And the Edutopia article talks about visualization of 21st century learning, to design a flexible environment that doesn't cater to one type of learner. And so I think by having this set up, it will really keep me true to that. There's a really small, low cost to be able to do these things. And that was another point, another benefit of blended learning mentioned in the Edutopia article. The open educational resource that I'm going to talk more about in just a moment also really allows me to personalize the content. So I'll get to that in just a moment. And then student choice in pacing. I think students being able to move from table to table at whatever time frame that they need will be really great because I anticipate my students really needing that flexibility. And then eventually they'll all end here at station 6 where they would take an assessment, meet with me to review the assessment, and then potentially move on to the extensions table or zone. So the open educational resource that I chose to use was Big History Project, and I chose this because I actually rearranged my astronomy curriculum last year when I taught it, and you can access Big History Project by Googling Big History Project. It'll come right up, or you can go to this website. But it was a project started by Bill Gates, and he started it because in his intro video, he describes how we learn a lot of different content as we grow up, but oftentimes it's hard for students and people in general to see the big picture. How does all of our knowledge fit together? And so this really is geared towards a history classroom, but as I started to look at their content, this big purple section, Cosmos, I mean, it is like perfect for an astronomy course. And so really the basics of this resource is that it organizes the content into a timeline, and it talks about it in terms of systems and the history that we know, and puts it all together. So I think it's a really powerful way to help students see the big picture. In terms of what services Big History Project offers, it's free, open, and online, which is amazing. It allows the teacher to create an account which is different than a student account, and teachers can create class codes that you could actually include in your syllabus so that students can then join. And then the teacher can organize those students into different classes. The teacher account has the ability to control which assessments that students need to take. So I think that's a way of definitely curating like which units I will actually do. And if you look down here on this kind of transparent timeline, this is the actual curriculum or syllabus that they offer. And so like I would definitely be doing threshold 1, threshold 2, maybe threshold 3 and 4, but then really 5, 6, 7, and 8 and 9 are ones that I may not necessarily need to do or have time for. So I can really control like which I want to do with my students. There are pacing guides, which I'll show you right now really quick, and Google Doc versions of all the assignments. So from the teacher standpoint, they actually provide these instructions on how to add the Google Docs to your own drive. And so when you open that in your own drive, this is what it actually looks like. You can see how organized it is. It corresponds to the unit number and section and activity number. And then they also even provide rubrics to teachers to grade, assess writing, presenting, debating, and collaboration. In terms of their teaching guide and how they support teachers, there is an interactive teaching guide, so I can click on these and it'll tell me all about like who should teach Big History. And they provide support on the different types of homeworks, activities, writing skills, reading skills, how to teach those. Here is the pacing guide that I mentioned. I've never seen anything like this, even for like the classes that I teach that are standardized. So I just think this level of like thoughtfulness that's been given to this curriculum is phenomenal. And here is the interactive syllabus. So I can click on, I'll show you the Big Bang, which is what I actually modeled my ideal classroom setup after. So you can see there's like an opening activity. Maybe I would do that as like the intro meeting with my students. Then they have an activity, video, article. Here's like the variety of content coming into play. And then the quiz, which students would take at station 6. And so at the very top here, you can see there's teacher resources as well. There's a text reader. So if you want students with special needs to be able to download this and have maybe like a reader actually speak the text to them. And then this is how you access the Google Docs. There's just so much support for teachers. So it just makes it easy. Like I just think this makes it really easy on teachers, so that teachers can really be working with the students instead of having to create everything from scratch. So going back to some other things that I really liked about the Big History Project, it's easy to navigate. The stations are really short and connected, so their videos are never longer than like, I think 2 to 7 minutes were the ranges that I saw. And then in chapter 7 of the book, Blended, they talk about other considerations, and some of the ones that I think were just so great about this particular product. It's free. The student experience, they're getting this whole big picture aspect. It is adaptable with the Google Docs. You get data from the assessments, and then its compatibility and alignment with what I'm already doing is just phenomenal. So when I go back to my ideal instructional space, I talked about the whole group meeting maybe being the activity the opening activity. But then you'll see in the red text, I've actually gone through and outlined the Big Bang unit here. And so I'm envisioning like zones where students can work on vocab, watch a video, read an article, um, maybe work on one of the ballots in a group, doing a small group discussion about the infographic of the big history timeline, and then finally hitting the assessment station where I'll be stationed to help students as they're navigating that, and then the extensions pathways. So future challenges, I think, will be still needing to figure out exactly how I'll arrange the space. If I'm going to curate all my content from Big History Project, or do I need to get other resources? Maybe especially for like the extension pathways, I'm not exactly sure what those will be yet. Instructions for each of the zones, and so where am I going to post that? What will it be? And then how does this look unit to unit? So here's like Big Bang mapped out, but what does it look like if I want to transition to stars and black holes and elements? So that's something that I really need to think about. So this would be my ideal instructional space for blending learning in an astronomy classroom using the Big History Project. And I'll say this, if it's good enough for Bill Gates, then it's good enough for me. Thanks for watching.